Now, chairperson of the Select Committee on Public Infrastructure and Minister in the Presidency, Rikus Badenhorst, has welcomed the recent actions taken by the Hawks, who seized devices belonging to senior executives of the Passenger Rail Agency of South Africa. These actions form part of an ongoing investigation into alleged irregularities in the organization, particularly regarding claims of irregular tenders worth more than 18 billion rand. Rikus Badenhorst joins me now live for this conversation. Chairperson, thank you so much for joining us. The Hawks have raided the Prasa offices in Johannesburg. As the committee, you have also welcomed this. I guess a step in the right direction for accountability and transparency, would you say?
Yeah, definitely, Masa, and good evening to you and the viewers. Most definitely. I think one of the biggest, if you take the importance of public transport. It's 57% of our lower income residents in South Africa, lower income residents in South Africa, 57% of their monthly budgets go towards transport and electricity. And so rail transport is essential. Rail transport is a cost-effective way of getting people to and from work. And signaling is crucial to that. I'll give you an idea. In 2013-14, before COVID, obviously, we did about 543 million passenger trips per year. During COVID, we had lots of vandalism and problems on our rail corridors with informal settlements. Post-COVID, that went down to 40 million trips per year. So 2023-24 is 40 million trips. Now, to try and get it to Prasa's target of 300 million trips by 2027-28, they're going to have to restore signaling. The signaling is basically the heartbeat of the rail system. If you don't have signaling, you don't have frequency of trains, and you have lots of delays, and obviously safety becomes a concern. So this is definitely a step in the right direction, because with the little bit of money we have available at the moment to fix national infrastructure, I think we need to look after every cent, and I think this is very welcome that this is being investigated, and I really hope that we get to the bottom of this very soon.
Indeed, and as you're mentioning as well, just also the heart and backbone of the transport system as well in South Africa. And quite often, Prasa is not covered in glory. And while this is a welcome development, as a committee, do you have other concerns about this entity, and that maybe this is only just the tip of the iceberg?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, in the National Council of Provinces, we cluster the ministries. So our responsibility as a committee is not just transport. We also look after public works, the infrastructure, minister in the presidency, planning, monitoring, and evaluation. So we don't get to see the entities as often as our colleagues in the National Assembly gets to see them. But from our engagements with Prasa that we've had, we actually went on an oversight visit earlier this year, and we spent some time on the central line from Khayelitsha to Cape Town. We met with the Prasa board members on that specific oversight visit, and we had good conversations, and there's lots of green shoots. So Prasa's recovering some of their lines at a very good rate, and there's a very good working relationships with the private sector. If you look at the EMUs, the electric multiple units they're busy building with Gibela in Denotta in Nigel. So and those are the blue trains, the little blue-colored Prasa trains you see on the passenger rail at the moment, and they work very well. So there's definitely green shoots, but it's just so disappointing that every now and again, as soon as you think something is going right, there's a dodgy tender, and things go pear-shaped. And at the moment, I think we're not in a position in this country to have 18 billion rand wastage. There's also another problem with Prasa, which I've come to my attention, and that's with rebuilding of rolling stock, and the rolling stock is standing at yards all across the country. So there's definitely problems in Prasa, and hopefully the Hawks will investigate more than just this specific tender, and look at other issues as well. The company that's involved here has also come across my radar. I serve on a few other committees in Parliament as well, and with regards to the rebuilding of Parliament, the same company that's implicated now here with this 18 billion rand tenders was also involved with the demolishing of the old National Assembly with the refurbishment project. So there's a lot of questions, and I hope that the Hawks get to the bottom of this sooner than later.
And as you're mentioning that company as well, that's also involved with Parliament there too. It seems that obviously the problem is across the board. It appears to be across the board. And while there are those green shoots that you refer to, what would you say is at the root of the problem?
Well, you always, as we say, when we do oversight, you've got to follow the money. And that's, when you follow the money, you normally get to the bottom of it. And I think in this case, it's money, so unfortunately, Transnet, Prasa is a subsidiary of Transnet. And Transnet is one of those SOEs where there's still big tenders, so we have to, in Parliament, make sure that when we do oversight over these big SOEs, because that's where the big tenders are awarded, and that's normally where things go wrong. So, to answer your question, it's a money problem, and it's our job is to make sure we follow the money to get to the bottom of the issue.
Yep, follow the money. Thank you so much for joining us and also sharing some of those remarks and responses, reactions coming out of the Parliament's Portfolio Committee. That, of course, was the chairperson of the Select Committee on Public Infrastructure, Rikus Badenhorst.